Hi girls, this is going to be the last lesson that we do before Easter. It's going to be very quick, so don't worry too much about it. It's not going to be the last, like the last two that I've done. So if you could please write down the title, which is revenue, and the date of today. Now, what do you think is meant by the term revenue? We've talked about revenue before, but I don't think we've ever done it in that much detail. So you probably have an idea of what this means, but we haven't really looked at it in that much detail. So I've given you here a definition that you can remember and the formula to calculate it. So revenue is income coming into a business from the sale of goods and services. It is calculated by finding the quantity sold of goods times the price that they're setting those goods at. Okay, now if that is not so clear at the moment, do not worry. I'm going to give you examples in a little bit. Okay, so just remember what the definition is. It would be great if you could write that down in your books, and the formula that you should also write down in your books, which we definitely have had a look at before, but not in this much detail. Now, what is the difference between revenue and costs? When we think about these differences between these kind of business concepts, it's important that we are careful at kind of specifying the difference between the word price and costs, because those two are not interchangeable terms. Okay, so revenue is the money coming into the business from selling goods. Okay, that's all it is. It's money, income, also another term to kind of define it, more technical term, that comes into our business because the business has been able to sell goods on even services. I didn't write that down, but please add services in your definition in your books. Costs, on the other hand, represent the money going out of the business to pay for goods that they have produced and they have sold. Okay, so revenue is kind of like the total outcome of us selling something. Okay, but the costs that we need to kind of think and we have to take into account are all those things that we had to pay for in terms of selling those goods. So if, for instance, for Cadbury's, the revenue is going to be all the chocolate bars that I've sold, okay, but so all the money that I make from selling those chocolate bars, but the costs will be all those costs I needed to use for the production of that Cadbury's bar, like for instance paying the workers that were in the factory to develop that bar, paying things like advertising for the company, things like the wrapping paper and so on. Okay, so those are all the costs that we looked at, and that is kind of like what you would say in an exam if they asked you what the difference is between revenue and costs. Okay, so yeah, like I said here, be careful of the difference between saying price and costs because they're not interchangeable things. Okay, now as we said, I've kind of put here a slide in which I've given you the definition of revenue, the difference between costs. I mean, I put everything that I just said into one slide. Now, detailed below is a table showing the prices of different airline tickets. Okay, so the prices of different services that these airlines have provided and the number of passengers booked on each flight. Okay, so we have here the quantity of passengers, which would represent the quantity of the service of this flight. Okay, so in this case here, we've got the price at which every flight costs, and we've got here the number of people that have bought these flights. Okay, so your task here is to understand which flight, okay, so which one of these generated the highest revenue. And remember that the formula to find the revenue is the price, okay, times the number of goods or services sold. In this case here, the number of passengers are going to be individuals buying that service provided by the airline. Okay, so what we'll need to do is we need to do the price times the number of passengers, and we will get the revenue. So if you could please do that calculation here and find out the flight that generated the highest revenue. So I calculated it earlier and I hope you did this correctly. This flight here would be the one, and the first one would be the one that generated the highest revenue, okay, because it has such a high price compared to all the others, and even though the number of passengers is smaller than the rest, because the price is so high, the outcome is actually revenue for the first flight is the highest. Okay, so yeah, I've got here the difference between the two again. So you can have a look at that. Now, it would be great if you could quickly calculate the revenue in this task here. Okay, so revenue must not be looked at just on its own. It is easy for a business to sell more by cutting the price, but this may mean losing income on every product that it sells. Okay, so a manufacturer can sell 2,000 toasters a year at £25. Your job is to find the revenue here, okay, and then for the next 2 times. And then your task is to find which selling price is the highest revenue generated. Okay, so please stop the video here and find that out. Thank you. Once again, I'm going to assume that you've done that. And here would be your answer. So have a look at these. Stop the video again and have a look at these. Check that they're all correct. And I will carry on. So like I said, this is a really, really short video. It's just kind of to wrap up what we've done. What I need you to do for today is this task here that I'm going to soon post on Google Classroom. And in terms of the work that I expect you to do, I don't want to give you too much work because I am assuming that a lot of you will not have watched any of these little videos, or even if you have watched them, they might have been very brief. And if you think about it, the content of my YouTube videos is quite heavy. In fact, I'm quite aware they might have been quite boring because it's difficult to obviously do a lesson online, but this is the best that we can do. And the thing is, even though they are quite heavy on the content, you must please make sure that you've watched them and you've taken the notes, because this material here is really something that we're going to look at again after Easter, because we're going to have to start the last part of the unit. Okay, so we're basically going to do some coursework based on all the stuff that we've learned so far, but we still have to finish the last kind of part in terms of theory. So when we come back from Easter, you'll be doing a bit more. I'll be doing a few lessons more on the profits, revenue and costs, and then we'll start the coursework. So I'm going to give you a really quick quiz to do over the holidays, and I'm going to check on your work, the old stuff that we've done on market segmentation and market research. I'm just going to do a little check for everybody. So the people that have not done it, you must ensure that by the end of these 2 weeks, everything is completely at its perfect version, because I have to really carry on very soon. Miss May has actually asked teachers not to respond to emails, so I will not be in touch as much, but I kind of will be, because I will be giving you feedback. So you need to kind of check out the comments I give you. And yeah, that's all for now. So throughout the 2 Easter holidays, I'd like you to watch my videos at least once or twice and have a look at all the information that is there. Make sure that the information that I've asked you to write down is in your books. And then I'd like you to do this little business quiz and on bite size, and I'm going to post that shortly, and I'll check on your coursework, and that'll be pretty much it. Okay, so I hope you have a relaxing time, but I hope that you have also some time to kind of catch up on stuff that you've not done. And I wish you the very best, and yes, well done if you have actually gotten to this point here and you're listening to what I'm saying now. Well done, and speak to you soon, girls.